Hi, welcome to our first flipped classroom lesson. This lesson is 1-1 on place value. You probably know a lot about place value from 4th grade, from 3rd grade, maybe even from 2nd or 1st. In 5th grade, our place values go all the way up to the billions place value, and I want to review them just so you remember a little bit. Place values are broken down into sections called periods. We have a ones period in the blue there, a thousands in the purple, millions in the green, and billions in the red. In each period, there are 3 specific different sections or numbers or place values for which your digits can sit. For instance, we have our ones period right here. Subcategorized, we have the 1 section, the 10 section, and the hundreds section. Our next period is the thousands. We've got the thousands, the 10,000s, and the 100,000s. Each digit, 0 through 9, could sit in any of those sections. You'll notice a little bit of a pattern. In the ones period, we have a ones place value. In the thousands period, we have a thousands place value. Then you'll notice that we've got the tens, and we've got the 10,000s. We've got the hundreds, and we've also got the 100,000. This pattern continues on to the millions, with the millions place value, the 10 millions, and the 100 millions. And finally, we end with the billions period, the billions, the 10 billions, and the 100 billions. Now let's say, for instance, you take the number 7,123. Each digit, the 7, the 1, the 2, the 3, has a specific spot to sit. So if I were to write 7,123, it would be written like this. Each digit specifically sitting in a place value. Now you'll notice you heard me say 7,123. This tells me and reminds me of something. In between each period, there is a comma. Every time you come to that comma, when you are reading, you say whatever period you just ended with. So for instance, this one right here would be 7,123. Now I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to write down another number. What I need to remember is I need to add my commas. 1, 2, 3, comma. 1, 2, 3, comma. In order to read this number, I have to remember those commas. My first thing that I see here is 42. So what I say is 42, and then I just ended the millions period, so I say million. 42 million. My next section here is 518. So I say 518. I just ended the thousands period with that comma, so I say thousand. So it'd be 518,000. And then my last numbers are 403. So that whole number written out would be 42,518,403. Now I'm going to try another one for you. Let me clear the ink here. Let's write down this number. There are all my digits. What I do need to remember is I need to add in the commas. I count 3 over for the ones period, 3 over for the thousands period, and then there's only 2 numbers, or digits, I should say, in the millions period. How I read this number is 70,249,004. So my number is 70,249,004. I'm going to do one last one for you here, and I'm going to pause for a second, and I'd like you to try and read it yourself. There it is. I hope you're thinking in your head, you need to add the commas because you are correct. I count over 3 place values. I count over 3 place values. And this time I count over another 3 place values. See if you can say that number. In order to read that number, I would have read 8,429,170,000, and then there are no ones, so that's where I end. 8,429,170,000, and that's the end of my number. We'll practice this a little bit more in class if you are still confused over it. Numbers have 3 different forms you can write them in. One is a standard, one is an expanded, and one is word form. Standard form is our normal number form that you always see numbers in. Let's go back and let's do 7,824. This is a standard number. Most of the time, numbers are written with this. Expanded form is something that you probably don't see very often in the world, but what expanded form does, it helps us remember that each digit, the 7, the 8, the 2, the 4, holds a specific place value. So when I write expanded form out, I show that the 7 doesn't mean 7, it really means 7,000. The 8 doesn't mean 8. It's in the hundred spot, so it really means 800. The 2 is not a 2. The 2 is in the tens spot, and if I had 2 tens, think about dollar bills, 2 $10 bills, I'd have $20. And then my 4 in the 1 spot is simply just a 4. So the expanded form right now is 7,000 plus 800 plus 20 plus 4. The word form is one that we don't use a lot, but if you've ever seen your parents write out a check before, on that check you always have to write the word form, so it's very important to know. The word form would be 7. Each time I come to that comma, I know I'm ending a period, so 7,000. I get to my 8, would be 800. 24. Now the word form is a lot to write out, but it is important that you do know. Knowing from that standard, expanded, and word, we're going to do a couple practice problems here. It is telling me to write my number in standard form. Here is my number, 40,048,000,000. Not a lot of words in there, but each number fits in a specific spot. So I've got 40 billion. I remember from before, when I say billion right here, I need to have it end where my comma would end. So 40 billion belongs in the billions, period. 40, I hear the number 40, so I'm going to write down 40. Now I hear 48 million, which would probably belong in the millions category. 48 million. Now I have 2 choices. 48 like this or 48 like this. Well, why would I do it only 2 choices? Usually 48 just looks like that. Remember, in each period there has to be 3 numbers or digits is what you would call them. 48 only has 2. So I need to make 48 with a 0. That 0 holds my place value. This number written down with a 0 isn't 48 anymore, is it? It's 480. This one right here still remains 48. So I would write 0, 4, 8, comma. How many thousands did I hear? I didn't hear any. but I do need to hold the place value with a 0. How many ones did I hear? I didn't hear any, but I need to put in that place value holder of 0. So in standard form, let me erase just a bit here. In standard form, my number would be 40 billion, 48 million, no thousands, excuse me, and no ones. Here's a much longer one. 34,235,341. My first place value I hear is million. 34 million. 34 million. Now you're probably saying to yourself, well, Mrs. Madden just said that you need 3 digits per place value. You do, unless it's the first period. You could write it like this, but that would just look a little goofy. So I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to leave it just at the 34. So I've got 34,235,000. So my next place value there is thousands. So I hear 235,000. That's my comma. 341. 341. There is our standard form of that number. Now I have an expanded form number here that it's telling me, once again, write it in standard form. I see my first number here is 80 million. Do you see where I got that? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. So my 8 fits right here in the 10 million spot. So it is 80 million. Okay, so I'm going to put my 8 there. Now I've got, what number is this? That looks like 4 million to me. So in the million spot, there's going to be a 4. So if I'd add 80 million plus 4 million together, I'm going to get 84 million. How many thousands do you see? I don't see any, but I do need a place value of 0. So I'm going to hold 3 zeros for my thousand spot. Now how many hundreds do you see? I see 1, so 100 would go there. How many tens do you see? I don't see any. You have to remember that place value holder of 0. How many ones do you see? I see 8. So it'd be 108. So my number is 84,108. Last one here, I believe, of the standard form. Now I've got 8 million plus 10,000 plus 20 plus 3. So the 8 goes in the million spot. The 10 goes in the 10,000 spot because it's 10,000. The 20 goes in the 10 spot. And the 3 goes in the 1 spot. Now don't forget those place value holders of 0. So your number would be 8 million, 10,000, 23. You can also put numbers into word form. Right here, remember, I've got 18. So I'd have to write out 18,000. And I'm sorry, 18,000. Where did I get that 1,000 from? From my comma. 345. 345. And there would be my word form number. Word form again. I've got 60. What is this comma telling me? It's telling me to write down the word thousand or to say the word thousand. So 60,700 27. Word form. Let's say this one. I'm going to give you a second to try to say it in your head. Word form would be 10 million 10,468. Expanded form is at one with all those plus signs in there where you're adding them together just to show that you know the place value. This is 7,000 plus 100 plus 20 plus 3. This one, ooh, this 8 way out here. The 8 way out there looks to me like it's in the billion spot. Let's see. Ones, thousands, millions. It is in the billion spot. So I've got 80 billion plus, I need my 5. Now that's 5 billion, and I've run out of room. I'll go down to the bottom. Plus, nothing in the million spot, so I don't have to write anything. I've got a 1 here. That 1 means 10,000 plus my second 1 here means 1,000. And I don't need to write any more because I have zeros. So our number is 80 billion plus 5 million plus 10,000 plus 1,000. What I want you to do is I want you to take out your notebook because we're going to have a few notes. We are going to take 2-column notes and I want you to label it on the top. This should be in your exact first page of your composition notebook. So when you open up, you're going to have lesson 1-1 right here on the very first page since it is our first lesson. So at the top, I would like you to write lesson 1-1 and then halfway down the paper here, divide it into 2 sections. All right, we've got a couple words that I do want you to take notes on. The first one is digit. Digit, remember, means any numbers 0 through 9. So there's only 10 digits in the world, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if you ever hear the word digit, you'll know that it's one of those. I like to draw a line underneath to go to my next number, or my next definition, so I know that there's a separation there. We had standard form. Standard form, remember, is just the number. And I'm going to write an example here down below. EX period is an abbreviation for example. So my example could be number 145. That is my standard form number. Now I'm going to go on to my next page. I don't need you to. You just continue on your first page. I was able to get all my notes here onto one page. The next thing that we did talk about was expanded form. And hopefully you are writing on your lines. It's a little hard for me to write on my iPad and then write on the lines as well. So hopefully yours is neat, nice and neat. Expanded form, remember, has all the plus signs in there to show the place value. We're going to do an example of that so you will remember. An example for 145 would be 100 plus 40 plus 5. I draw a line. And our last little bit that I do want you to remember is our word form. This simply tells you it should be in words. I'm going to write that just to remind myself. Example, 145, I would write out 145. Now, spelling does not matter, but it would be a good, wise choice to start remembering how to spell some numbers. Those are our notes for today. The last thing that I would like you to do at the very bottom, each day when you're watching this at home, or each night if you're watching it at night, and let's say you don't quite understand something, at the very bottom of your notes, I want you to write, I don't get. If you understand everything, you don't have to write this. But let's say you're going to come back to me tomorrow and say, I don't get how to put the commas in. I would like you to write, I don't get how to put in commas. This is not a graded thing. This is for you to remember to ask me so I can show you tomorrow, and then hopefully you will understand it. If you do understand everything, you don't need to write anything down. This is really important to become a scholarly student, to be able to remember what to ask your teacher the next day. I hope you know a little bit more about place value, and I will see you tomorrow.